My name is Annelies Strobel. I'm running the Call Management and Evaluation Office based at the Alfred Wegener Institute in Bremerhaven, Germany. And as said, the aim of this webinar is to demonstrate the Eurofleets Plus CoPI program and how to apply for it. To start with, Eurofleets offers 3 types of access programs. The first one is the Ship Time and Marine Equipment Application Program, which is a classical call for proposals in which applicants could apply for several days of full access to all the 27 vessels and 13 marine equipments offered within Eurofleets Plus. In this program, we already launched 2 calls in 2019 to 2020, one with more ocean and one with regional going vessels, and both calls are closed. And all vessels are scheduled now. And then we have the CoPI program, the Co-Principal Investigator program, which is particularly aimed at the early career researchers who want to implement their own research together with the vessels scheduled in the above mentioned C call. This program offers 2 to 3 days of access attached to a Eurofleets Plus cruise. And this program allows the continuous submission of proposals until the call closure. So it is a running call. And just as an information, Eurofleets Plus is also offering the remote transnational access program, which provides researchers with remote access to samples or data from a Eurofleets Plus vessel. In this program, applicants can apply for 1 day of remote access to all vessels offered in Eurofleets Plus, independent or attached to a scheduled cruise of the C program. And this is also a continuous running call, which allows the continuous submission of proposals until the call closes. In this webinar, we only focus on the CoPI program. But before starting with the CoPI as such, I would like to give you some background why Eurofleets Plus came up with this program at all, since it's new to Eurofleets Plus. Before Eurofleets Plus, we already had Eurofleets 1 and Eurofleets 2. In the Eurofleets 2 project, we offered 4 classical calls for ship time in 2013 to 2015, in which 5 early career researchers applied for ship time as a cruise PI. And 3 of them got the funding to PI a cruise. And after this, their cruises, Eurofleets 2 performed a customer satisfactory survey, and many of the comments, especially of the early career researchers, highlighted the great opportunity for early stage researchers to PI a cruise. But one of I would like to give you one example of one of these early career PIs in Eurofleets 2, which was the cruise Mullet on board the Celtic Voyager, where the PI stated that I am an early career research scientist, therefore I'm very grateful to Eurofleets 2 for this opportunity, which has allowed me to further my experience as a principal investigator, a most valuable experience for my career. So we recognize the opportunity for early careers to get experience as a cruise PI through Eurofleets, the Eurofleets 2 program. And then another cruise with a very early career researcher was actually a master's student, which participated in a scheduled Eurofleets cruise. And she had her own little project called Polar Plastics together with the cruise prepared. And she stated that participating in Eurofleets was an amazing experience. This cruise gave me the opportunity to carry out my PhD research, meet some brilliant researchers, and form future collaborations. So also we had once we had this case that a very early career student participated in a scheduled cruise with a small project. So, and this brought up the idea of offering a specific call for these early career researchers to participate in scheduled cruises. To give you an overview of the C program and the cruises scheduled in Eurofleets Plus, for which the CoPI students can apply. First, we had this ocean call, which closed in September 2019. In this call, we had 34 submitted proposals. 253 scientists from 30 different countries applied. And out of these proposals, we recommended 10 proposals for scheduling, which were also now scheduled by our operational liaison panel. Then we also offered the regional call that closed in February last year. In this call, we had 22 proposals submitted from 185 scientists of even more countries, namely 34 countries. And out of these proposals, 11 were recommended for scheduling, and 10 are already scheduled by our operational liaison panel. And you will find a provisional transnational access schedule at the Eurofleets web page, for example, on the, when you go and have a look for the CoPI access program. Now, coming more specifically to the CoPI program, which is, as I mentioned, a running call. That means that proposals can be submitted continuously via an online proposal submission portal until the call closes. This call opened 21st of November 2019, and it will close the latest end of January 2022. However, please note that even though this is a running call and you basically can submit proposals until 2022, this program is on a first come, first serve basis. So that means that the availability of slots and slots on board of the vessels and the funds are limited. And as soon as we have enough excellent proposals and all berths are filled on the vessels and all the budget is exhausted, the call might close even earlier. So it would be good to apply as soon as possible, especially as the first cruises might be happening this year, if the situation allows. So with this background, I would like to come to the application procedure of the CoPI program. The procedure is structured in the following steps. First, you check the call definition, and if you are eligible to apply, then the second would be to read the guidelines for the applicants, where you can also find information about funding and the application procedure. Then you would check which infrastructure fits your needs and roughly where is the operational area and the timing of the cruise. So all this information is on the website. And then you would prepare your proposal and the data management plan using the templates that we provide at the website. And then you submit your proposal electronically via the online submission portal. In more detail, I would like to come to the first step, to check the call definition and eligibility criteria. So what is actually the CoPI program? As said, this is a new initiative from Eurofleets Plus for early career researchers or researchers who have no experience in leading a research cruise. Earlier careers are considered up to 7 years to be active in science. The CoPI projects as such are implemented together with experienced scientists in Eurofleets Plus scheduled cruises. And if applicable, you can also apply for marine equipment which is scheduled on a vessel. Applicants can basically apply for all research vessels offered within Eurofleets Plus, but they should check if the PI of the cruises are willing to take CoPI students, and this is also indicated on the website, as we cannot force them to take CoPI. So this, the ultimate decision is on the cruise PI. And the project offers free of charge access of 1 up to 3 days in maximum access to join a scheduled cruise. Then very important is the eligibility criteria. One very important criteria is the affiliation. So the applicant must work in another country than the country that runs and operates the infrastructure. So as a Norwegian researcher, you cannot apply for a Norwegian research vessel, for example. Then in terms of work experience, we are only looking for early career researchers without a lot of experience as a cruise PI in a research cruise. And important, the cruise length that you propose should not be more than 3 days. And you also have to provide a preliminary data management plan. You will find also the link in our guidelines. And you should be willing to disseminate your knowledge. So dissemination is a very important aspect in Eurofleets Plus. And the second step for you would be to check for all the call documents and the templates, where you can also find information about funding conditions and the application procedure. This is all at our website under Access Programs, CoPI, and then you find the call documents and templates there. You find, for example, the guidelines for applicants, the proposal template as such for the scientific part, submissions for the online submission guidelines, a template for the CV, and a link for the data management plan online tool where you can prepare a data management plan which gives you a PDF as output. Then you would check which infrastructure fits your research needs, and if they have the equipment you would like to use on board, and roughly where the operational areas and the cruise timing will be. As mentioned before, Eurofleets offers access to 27 research vessels and 30 pieces of marine equipment. And at the website, you will find more details on these vessels, looking at the specific vessel profiles. In the geographical areas which are covered in Eurofleets Plus is the Arctic Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. We have vessels in the Northern Atlantic Ocean, Baltic Sea, North Sea, Mediterranean, Black Sea, Northwest Atlantic, and also in the Pacific. Yeah, and here again there's the link where you can check for the infrastructure profiles in a catalog. As mentioned before, we also now have a provisional TNA schedule where you can have a look at all the vessels that are scheduled. It is the focus of the cruise, the location where it will take place, and if the PI of the cruise is willing to take CoPI students or provide access to this remote transnational access program, in case you're interested in that. And there's also a rough schedule for the timing given for the years 2021 and 2022. Yeah, so please have a look and which vessels are offering the possibility to host a CoPI. For some, it's not possible if there's not enough berths available. Many of could be also reason because of COVID restrictions. Then now I would like to focus on how to prepare the proposal as such using the templates. So one of the most important templates for preparing the proposal is this Part B proposal template, where you actually provide describe your project scientifically. When preparing this scientific work description, just a reminder to keep the page limitation, which is also specified in the guidelines, so please don't go beyond that. In this scientific description of your work, you provide information on the general scientific background of your project, and also very specifically which are the aims of your project, also what is new about it, what is the added value, and what would be the benefits and impact of this research cruise. Then you also have to provide a specific work program, which is very important to evaluate if it's scientifically feasible, the project you suggest. So please describe what work you want to carry out on board, list the stations, and including the position you would like to have them, and which water depths and the transects, and also a very realistic timetable, as long to estimate how much time you would need on board. So this is just an example how such a timetable could look like. Work program, you give it the position you would like to have it, and the depth and the estimated time, for example, for a CTD cast, or if you would have just some seismic transect or so. Then you provide information on the, yourself as a user group leader. It says user group leader, but actually you can also just apply as a single person. Here you give information about your expertise, like that you're an early career researchers, and what are your onboard tasks. You can also apply for a student or a colleague to come with you, but this is not mandatory. And there's maximum of 3 berths you can apply for your project on board. Then you have to also provide information about the technical capability and the data exploitation. So you give state which technical equipment you would need to carry out your proposed work. You also give an outline how you analyze your data and samples, and if you have additional funding sources, but it's not required. Then describe if you have own equipment that you would like to bring on board, and how you would like to disseminate your research outcomes and where your gain data will be stored. Then there's also this aspect on collaboration and public outreach. So if you have international collaboration, you can specify it here, but it is not mandatory to have international collaboration. Only if there is some, you can specify it here. And also provide information which activities you are planning to undertake to inform the public about your research cruise. So your outreach activities. Then there's the part where you provide details on your budget that you need, for example, travel expenses, and if you needed shipment of your own equipment that you want to bring on board from your preferred port of mobilization and back to the port of demobilization. Then after preparing this scientific proposal, you also have to provide a preliminary data management plan. You find a link on our website to the data management plan online tool. There's also a webinar how to prepare it. Also the link you can also find here. And keep in mind that you only have to provide a preliminary data management plan. And if your project is successful and it will is proposed for scheduling on board of a research cruise, the PI of the research cruise which is hosting you will invite you to contribute to his or her full data management plan. And finally, some recommendations when preparing your proposal. First, of course, follow the instructions, especially on the maximum number of pages, font size, spacing, so it's all specified in our guidelines. Check the area of operation and description of the vessels that we are offering. And keep in mind the evaluation criteria when drafting your proposal, and check that you address all the points. They are also specified on our website and also in the guidelines. And very important, make sure that your work plan is feasible and not exceed the 3 days that we are offering as maximum. And if you have any questions, please drop us an email. You find here the email address eurofleetsplus@avi.de. Also, you can find it also at the website. So please do not hesitate to contact us with any questions you have regarding your proposal. And then the last step, when you prepared all your documents, like your scientific proposal, CV, and the data management plan, you just have to submit the proposal electronically via our online submission portal. You can also find the link at the web page under the CoPI program. This online portal we are using is the PT outline system, where you first have to register. You sign in your email and receive a password and login dates. And then you have to fill in first the general project information and some details about you as the applicant. And as first step, you have to specify if you're applying for the CoPI program or the RTA, as we are using the same platform for these two running calls. So you choose CoPI and then you fill in all the general information about the project, like title, acronym, outline, information about yourself as the PI, and if you have project partners, which is not mandatory. Then you provide also some logistics information. Here you have the possibility to choose a research vessel, the one of that would fit best your needs, but this is just a suggestion. After when your proposal is evaluated positively, our logistics panel still will look at the best fitting vessel for your proposal. So here this is just an option. And you can also choose which marine equipment you would like to use, but you can only use it if it is scheduled on board, or if it's on board this research vessel anyways. So you cannot apply for marine equipment alone. Then, yeah, you provide information about yourself as principal investigator. And then please also specify if you how the transnational access offered in Eurofleets Plus CoPI will influence your future career and what benefits you expect when you would go on board a research vessel in Eurofleets Plus with this CoPI program. Just very briefly. And then the last step of the online application system will be to upload your proposal. You, like here you will find a PDF and the CVs for download, and also the possibility to upload the data management plan. And at the end, the system will automatically generate a proposal summary sheet of the proposals that you submitted as a confirmation of successful submission. With that, I would like to end with this part of the webinar. I would like to thank you for your attention and wish you good luck with your proposals. And as said, please always drop me an email, contact us if you have any questions regarding your application. Just to mention, we also had a webinar how to write a proposal for the C program, where you can also get some insights on how to prepare a proposal for Eurofleets Plus. And there's also a very nice general introduction on proposal writing from the ARISE program. You see the email address, internet address, where you can also get some valuable tips how to prepare a ship time proposal in general. Yeah, with that, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Ilmas. I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, hello to everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thanks so much.
And I'll start my presentation. I am Urmas Lips. I'm working at the Tallinn University of Technology, and I have been now for several years in the scientific evaluation panel for the Eurofleets projects to evaluate the proposals for the access to the vessels. And now this new call, CoPI call, this is just first time. I would say we started already about 10 years ago, but now you can apply as young scientists for already scheduled vessels or cruises for just 1 to 3 days, but it means that usually if we do the cruises, sometimes the time what is needed is quite long, because we have to travel to the study site and back. But now you can be as a passengers on board and then just use your 1 to 3 days. And I will I will repeat something that Anneli said, but I will focus on the cruises that are available and then on the evaluation criteria. Because if you write your proposal, then you have those questions that you have to write there, or answers, or the scientific background and the project plan and so on. But those who are evaluating, those have their own questions, and you can see them in the evaluation criteria document. But sometimes people who are applying, they forget that it is also a very useful information for you. Okay, let's start. First is what cruises we are, in what areas, and what are the schedules. And Anneli already showed you that you have to go to the Eurofleets website and see the cruises which are scheduled for 2021 and 2022. And you should pick up those which are green here. And also this is very important that the evaluation process will take time. And if the cruise is scheduled for April this year, then most probably it's not possible anymore, because it will take time to evaluate and then to decide, and also to contact the vessel operators and PIs and do the needed changes there. But I guess for summer and autumn this year it's still possible, and especially it's possible for the next year. And you see there are several cruises still for this year and for the next year. And the areas also Anneli showed you, and the website where you can find the information. But geographically, that what are the areas for this year and next year cruises? Here you see that we actually cover quite a lot of European seas, but then also Northern Atlantic, around Greenland, Iceland, and then Gulf Stream, but also close to the New Zealand, and one cruise is planned for the Ross Sea, close to Antarctic. It means there are many options geographically, and also there are many options regarding timing of the cruises. I will show some of examples here. For example, the Baltic Sea. There is actually 2 short cruises of research vessel Aranda this spring and autumn, and you can find the information on the website that what is the area and when the cruise is planned. But if you are familiar with with this area, then somehow you could plan the cruise depending on the available information about that specific cruise. For example, if you know that this cruise you will have 2 legs, one in spring and the other in autumn, it means that it's not just you can plan some activities during the cruise, but also you could plan something that you will leave some equipment at the site and then recover it afterwards. And the vessel which is available for that cruise is Finnish vessel Aranda. If you look at the specific information regarding this vessel on the Eurofleets Plus website, then you can see that the vessel is in Helsinki usually, and the working area is somewhere central Baltic, Gotland Basin. It means that there are passages from Helsinki to the working site and back, and then you have 2 different legs. It means that you can plan your cruise or your study according to that. And also you have to take into account the specific abilities of the vessel. That you heard that you will could have access for 1 to 3 days and just for 1 to 3 berths. It means that it's not important for you that how many places or berths are on the vessel. You have to count that you maximum will have only 3, but then you of course should have a look what is the speed of the vessel, what are the equipment, what is available, and if you, for example, would like to deploy something, that what are the winches, cranes available, and so on and so on, and what are the echo sounders, multi-beam, so what is available on the vessel that you can use either en route or at the working site. And everything is, you have at least the preliminary information available from the website, but afterwards you of course will get contact with the operators and PIs, and then you can get more information. The other area is the Mediterranean Sea. You see that for this year there are 3 cruises planned. Those 3 cruises actually they allow a CoPI study along with their cruises. One cruise is on Thalassa. It's in summer this year in Alboran Sea. The other one is in autumn this year, small research vessel SOSIP around the Mallorca. And the third one is on research vessel Belgica 2, which is also late autumn this year. And it's close to Gibraltar Strait. You see that if you are interested in some studies in the Mediterranean Sea, then there are 3 options, depending on what is your cruise, what is your idea or specific objectives, and you can choose the vessel and the time when you want to carry out your research. But of course, you have to go to see again that what are the technical capabilities of the vessels and what are the equipment which is available on board, and whether you have to bring something by your own, and so on and so on. This is for Thalassa. This is for SOSIP, which is actually quite small one, and then you have to think it very well through that what you can do and where with this vessel. And the Belgica 2. Okay, this was for this year, and for the next year there are 7 scheduled cruises, but or was it 6 at the moment? Yes, and 4 of them offer CoPI program. One is scheduled or is taking the research area is Gulf Stream. The other one is close to Iberian Peninsula in the Atlantic Ocean, and the 2 cruises are on the southern hemisphere. One close to the New Zealand coast, and the 4th one close to Antarctic in the Ross Sea. And for those cruises which are for the next year, of course, you still have time, but as it was said by Anneli, that we can just offer 1 CoPI per 1 cruise, and if there are already very good or excellent applications and they are evaluated, and then we actually can schedule those, and the process will start. But for the next year, in principle, of course, you still have time. But again, for the Baltic Sea cruise, it's much easier. It's a regional one. But for the cruise to the Antarctic, then you understand that the planning will take much more time, and you should start now. Okay, this was the overview of what the cruises are. I actually did not say anything about those cruises close to in the Northern Atlantic, and this is because they all are planned for this year and for this year spring, and I guess it's quite late now to apply for them. But for the Baltic Sea, or the Mediterranean Sea, and this year, and for the next year cruises, you still have time to do that. Okay, and then some slides from the evaluation process. What are the criteria and what you should take into account when writing a proposal? You, of course, have, as I said, you have your questions in the template and you will answer them. But the evaluation criteria are very close to those, but there are specific aspects. For example, first of all, you have to understand that what criteria would cost more. And we have 2 major criteria, which is scientific and technical quality, and the second one is the work program, and both of them will give you 35% of your grades. It means that those are the most important parts if you would like to get the high grade in total. And this evaluation criterion is divided into two. First, this is general scientific background. It means that you have to explain your topic, the current state of knowledge, and the evaluators will see whether you describe it well enough, and also that you have the relevant references cited. Because if you have the references are not the latest one or most recent one, then maybe you have missed something. And the second part is specific aims of the expedition. It means that the first part is about the general background, but and it could be a wider program or wider project, but then you will apply for 1 to 3 days of ship time, and those objectives have to be very specific, that what you can do during those 1 to 3 days. And the evaluators look at the scientific quality that and innovative aspects, that you are doing something which is not done yet, or in a different way, an innovative way. And we usually would like to see that your research objectives and expected outputs from these 1 to 3 days are very clear, and that they are achievable. Of course, sometimes you have a very, how to say it, great ambition to do something, but you again should explain it that what you are doing during this 1 to 3 days, and this is that the objectives that you state, they are achievable. But of course, then something new has to come out from this research, and the evaluators are evaluating your proposal, that what would be the progress beyond the current state of the art. And as I said, the second part, which is from my opinion a very important part of a cruise, is the work program. Sometimes people have these theoretical objectives or aims well described, but then the cruise program is such that we are not sure that you can actually do it, or especially for young researchers, that you have to calculate very carefully that how much time you need, and what you could done during the time you apply. First question is here that whether the work plan is adequate. You have your objectives and expected outcomes, and we can assess that whether the plan you propose is adequate. Then why this research area, why so many stations, and also that whether you have enough time that you could realize the work program. It means that you really have to calculate the time, how much time it takes for you at the station, prepare the station, the work at the station, and so on and so on. And it would be very nice to have a table with stations and transacts that you plan to do. Then are the scheduled tasks and methods adequate? For example, about the equipment, what equipment you will use, what methods you will use. You have to have references to the methods. You have to name the equipment, and you have to be sure that the equipment is available on board. But also an important part of this is the work program, as it's actually for all scientific applications. It's about the risks. And if you are working at sea, the major risk is bad weather. And you have to somehow describe that if the weather is such that you can't conduct all the measurements, then what is the plan B? And this is very important that you have this section in your proposal. Then the other three criteria, they cost less, just 10%, but still you have to have you have to describe your experience. Of course, you will include your CV, and if you have one or two participants with you, then you have to describe that what are the roles and responsibilities. And this is not just that we all will do the work, but it's good to have a description that what one or the other person is doing and what is their responsibility. And of course, then the evaluators will check whether the expertise is suitable for that. Then also the technical capability to carry out the research. This is necessary equipment, I already said that, but then also the data, how you will analyze it, or what will happen with the data afterwards, whether, or even not just data, but maybe you sample something and you have to do the sample analysis, then you have to at least mention that what kind of funding sources you have to already available for that, or you are planning to apply. If you don't name, then it's not easy to understand that you collected the data or samples, but what will happen afterwards. And also Anneli said that we have this data management plan, and we can get from that what are the plans with the data, whether they will be available afterwards in the databases or not. And the public outreach. This is something I would say maybe not, again, sometimes people do not pay attention enough to this part, but it's always good to have a short part in your proposal that how you will disseminate your activities or results, and especially here, not just scientific results, but to the general public. Please do not forget it, because it gives you 10% of the grades. And we have in our earlier webinar, which was a bit more than a year ago, special slides about the survey design and planning, and please have a look on those. The webinar is available on the YouTube, and you can find there how to actually plan the cruise and what is the proper cruise program, and how to calculate the time. I will not show the slides here, but you have to answer the questions why, where, when, how, and you have to have those cruise station lists and the maps. It's always it will give to the evaluators much better overview what you are planning, and you will get higher grades for the program. Okay, I will not go them through, but also then you are choosing the vessels. Of course, you are bound to those which are scheduled in the Eurofleets Plus, but you have to check those capabilities of the vessels, and also that in different countries you have different requirements regarding the certification and so on, that you have to be aware that what to expect, especially if you are planning something already for this year, then it has to be clear. And for the cruise plan, as I said, in that YouTube webinar, which is available on the YouTube, you will find some hints on how to calculate the time for, and what kind of activities you have, either en route or with then the vessel can move with its ordinary speed, but then some operations need reduced speeds, and then some operations you can do only at stations. But and you have to calculate how much time it takes. For example, one CTD cast. It depends on the sea depth, for example, and also that if you have coring, that how much the time you need to prepare the equipment at the station before you start the work, and so on and so on. Please have a look on that. And also there's dissemination, and as I said, here we mostly would like to see what you will plan for the general public, what kind of blogs, pictures, movies, what are the plans, the websites. It would be nice to have some social media links or something, that what you plan. There are I just show you 2 examples which were evaluated as very good or excellent. Please have a look, and thank you. That's all. I hope you got something from the evaluator side, that how we evaluate your proposals and what you should, what is important to pay attention. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Urmas and Anneli, for 2 great presentations. Just to let everybody know, and it's one of the questions in the Q&A and in the chat also, the recording of this will be available later this week, possibly this afternoon. And also, if Urmas and Anneli are happy to share PDF versions of their presentations, we'll put those on the website as well under the CoPI section. So we had 3 questions in that actually relate to applications for the CoPI. And the first one is from Damien, and here's the second question then. And the first one is it possible to carry out a quick feasibility check for a given vessel? And if so, who would one contact, the designated chief scientist, or would Eurofleets look after that? So actually, I think this is sort of a logistical one, Anneli, so I'll take it if you're happy for me to take that.
Go ahead.
So I think first thing to do would be to contact the coordination office, who is the Marine Institute where I'm based, and we're also coordinating the project, but we're also looking after the TN, the transnational access, and the logistical analysis of all of the applications that come in. So Damien, if you want to send us a quick email at eurofleetsplus@marine.ie, and just mark it CoPI so that we know what the email is in relation to, and just outline briefly what your proposal is, and we can look at what vessel it's going on, and if necessary, if we need to go more in depth, we can put you in touch with either the vessel operator or the CoPI, depending on who's more appropriate for your queries. And your second question then is also, I see in the schedule that a vessel I'm interested in is listed as tentative, and how to proceed there. Urmas had mentioned that one of the first cruises is scheduled for April, and that the timeline might be very short. Well, one of the cruises that was scheduled for April is now scheduled for July. Things are moving quite quickly because of the situation that we're in, and I'm not going to harp on about, we all, I think, are aware of it at this stage. So at the moment, everything is tentative. So just please get in touch. If we can open a line of communication with you, then we can see if there's any way maybe of possibly getting your proposal in on time and evaluated, and we can proceed from there. Timelines are moving all the time by a month or 2 at the moment. It seems to be pretty under control because a lot of the vessels have put in, they've done a lot of work on putting in protocols to ensure that cruises are taking place, but that are taking place in a safe manner. So crew and scientists on board has been limited because space is at a premium. So just get in touch, and we'll work with you as best we can. We had another question in there, Anneli, and it's thanks a lot for the webinar. If I finished my PhD 3 years ago and I have never been a PI on a cruise, could I apply as an early stage researcher?
Yes, definitely you can. So we count early career researchers up to 7 years. active in science after they finish their PhD. So you are perfectly in that within the time frame, and you can apply.
Okay, that's great. Another question then is, thank you for the useful information. How long will it take how long does an evaluation for the CoPI project take?
So we are evaluating the proposals that are submitted every 6 months. So the last evaluation took place in November, and the next one will take place in April, May, and the evaluation process as such is about 1 month for the scientific evaluation, and then afterwards, if the proposal is evaluated as scientifically excellent and proposed for scheduling, it will be passed on to the logistics panel, and then they have to look for the logistics feasibility. Yeah, so always the proposals are evaluated more or less mid of the year, end of the year. And then you have to wait at least 1-2 months until you get a final decision. Depends on the logistics.
Okay. And maybe a good tip there would be to possibly, if you can, open a communication with us while you're drafting your proposal, so that we can look at maybe look at some of the logistical issues beforehand, because that would speed up the process then towards the end. So if we can quick outline of your proposal, what vessel it needs to go on and what you want to carry out, that possibly we can actually, help you streamline that proposal so that it's more logistically achievable before submission. I think that might be a good idea. Is it possible to contact the cruise PI before applying for the CoPI programme? Absolutely. So if you wanted to drop us a mail and outline what cruise you're interested in, and again, as I said, brief outline of what you want to achieve, and we can pass that on to the CoPI and open up a line of communication then. Do you give feedback on the proposal if it doesn't pass the evaluation?
Yes. So our proposals are evaluated by scientific experts matching the scientific field of your proposals, and they also provide a very comprehensive evaluation report for each of the proposals, and you will receive that evaluation report whether successful or not.
Thanks, Emily. From Alexander here, what is, you mentioned about sample transport, and he's asking, do the CoPIs organise this on their own? This is usually organised by the CoPI and their institution, and the vessel operators will help you with that, because obviously the samples are collected on board and then they need to be transported on. So there may be some financial help available for the cost, but for the organisation of it, it's up to the CoPIs themselves to do this. And then, is it possible to apply for 3 days if the whole cruise is scheduled for 4 days? Again, this is probably a logistical one. Again, yeah, I think, Alexander, I think this came in from you as well. Maybe jot down your thoughts and send them to us in an email, and we can look at it from there. But that could be tight, adding it on. I think I know the cruise you're talking about. So if you want to just send us in your query, and we can look at it on an individual basis. Okay, so that's all the questions that were in. I don't know if anybody else has any questions that they'd like to put to the panel before we finish up. Okay, great. Oh, there's one more in there. Is it possible to apply even if you exceed the 7 years' time after conclusion of a PhD?
Well, according to our guidelines, not. No. Of course, if we take parental leave or so, we take that into account. So it means 7 years active in science. So if you have done something else during that 7 years after your PhD, this is not counted. So it's really active years in science.
Okay, it's very flexible. That's great. Okay, I think that's the last question. I'll just remind everybody as well that the RTA program is there also, and all the information for that program is also available on the website. So if there's something that you'd like to do, but you don't think it's suitable for the CoPI programme, or it can't be facilitated through the CoPI programme, please look and see if the RTA programme might work for you, because we're welcoming applications under that programme as well. Just sorry, there's one more question in the chat here. Okay, it's from Julia, I think. So Julia, you're saying that you're interested in a cruise in the Baltic Sea, so, and you'd like to open a communication. So if you just send an email to the Eurofleets@marine.ie email address, or to Annalie at AOE, and the email address is in the presentation, and it'll be available, and it's on the website also. Send us your details, and we can look at that then and see what's feasible. Okay, so that's it. I'd really like to express my thanks to Annalie and Urmas for 2 fantastic presentations. They were really, really informative, and for you all for joining. And hopefully we'll see lots of applications under the CoPI programme. Okay, thanks very much. Unless you got Annalie and Urmas, would you like to say anything before we finish up?
No, thank you very much for attending, and yeah, I'm looking forward to receive many applications for this program.
Yes, I hope that people will use it, because this is a very great, it's actually a great opportunity for young scientists to start, because when you are on board afterwards, you will be together with an experienced team, and you will see how they are working, and this is I would say very good. And it could be also that those are from different disciplines, and then you will see something that you usually can't see. And you will get great experience.